you guys didn't recognize that song, that was Layla by Derek and the Dominoes. And the reason why I chose that song this week is because Derek's team is practically like dominoes this week. You see what I did there? His team just continues to fall over and fall over. Thank you, Derek, for not playing Alex Smith on a couple fronts. It's nice to have another $10 donated towards our trophy. And I'm tied with you for the division. This week doesn't matter. I should take care of business against Michael Samuels. So it doesn't matter from a division standpoint. I guess it does still matter from if I don't beat you in week 13. But yeah, me and you, buddy, all comes down to week 13, where I should be a pretty big favorite. Knock on wood. Hopefully no more injuries for me this week. But yeah. Anyway, for the rest of you, got the week 12 power rankings. Yeah, the regular season is almost done. So let's go ahead and pull up our power rankings here. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. Not a whole lot of movement. Couple notable things here. But yeah, let's get into them. Yeah. Mike still number 1. Scott number 2. There's a decent shot that division will come down to next week, week 13. Andy number 3. Jason up to number 4. Myself back up to number 5. So the teams from the league that shall not be mentioned are pretty high up in the power rankings. If I'm able to beat Derek, all of us should make the playoffs. So there probably was... We probably had an advantage there. I'm not going to beat around the bush with that. Doug 6, Dustin 7. He's got 4 more wins than me, even though I have more points than him. Suppose that happens to someone every year. But Mike wants to talk about how Andy's been blessed with an easy schedule. Dustin has been thoroughly blessed with an easy schedule. Derek at 8, Derek Mostrom, Jared 9, Derek L 10, and Derek L's team is very, very, very thin right now. He does not have a 5th wide receiver. His 4th running back is only projected 9 points the rest of the way, so he's already decimated by injuries, but even one more injury is all but going to take him out. There are a couple teams that are a couple injuries away from being decimated as well. Well, let's finish up the power rankings. Derek N, 11, and Mike Samuels, 12. The other couple teams that are one significant injury away from being decimated is Doug, who after he got rid of Kaepernick, does not have a backup, and his starting quarterback is RG3, prone to injury. So if Doug is able to sneak his way into the playoffs yet, he is one injury away from being completely back out of it, in my opinion. And then Dustin is only carrying one quarterback that is actually playing right now as well. And his quarterback is Drew Brees. So Brees not as much of an injury risk as RG3, but hey, it's possible. Also, Dustin is only carrying one tight end, one active tight end. And that's Garrett Graham. I have him down as, let's see here. He's the 2nd worst starting tight end. And that includes all the teams that have completely tanked away the season, too. Maybe you should have reconsidered trading away Moreno for Antonio Gates. Yeah, Garrett Graham. Fantasy stud. The division, we'll do the week lines first. This game doesn't matter to me because it does all come down to week 13. Derek v. Eric. But I'm the biggest favorite this week over Mike Samuels. I'm minus 240. Mike Samuels plus 190. Derek L. Again, this matchup doesn't matter either because it comes down to week 13, but he's the next biggest favorite. Minus 200 over Derek Newberta, plus 160. And I'm making that the Keo Sorrenta matchup of the week. Kia, not Keo. Mike Mostrom, the next biggest favorite over Derek Mostrom. Mike minus 150. Derek Mostrom plus 120. Oh, I like those pickups, Jared. Nice job. That'll help your team in the future. That just came across the board there. Scott is a minus 125 favorite over Doug. So this is probably the most critical matchup of the week for both Scott and Doug. Scott, if he wants to maintain pace with Mike and have it come down to the last week of the season, he needs to beat Doug. Doug, if he wants a shot at the playoffs, he needs to beat Scott. Again, nothing personal, Doug. I'm rooting for Scott in this one. I want your draft pick to be good. This one, a little bit of a shocker. Andy is only a minus 115 favorite over Jared. Now, I'm not sure. I did not look at the buys or anything, but that one kind of shocks me a little bit. And then our last matchup, probably the other big matchup of the week. So the two most important ones I'm going to say are Scott versus Doug, and then this one, Jason versus Dustin. And according to projections, they each have a 50% chance of winning the game. So Jason needs this to stay in the hunt for the division. And if Dustin wins, he's got the division wrapped up and possibly the 2-seed wrapped up. I did not include that in my scenarios. I think that's the case, though. So the East Division, because it comes down to the last week of the season, for me versus Derek this week does not matter. I don't know if I've mentioned that yet. But I'm the favorite in our Week 13 matchup. Therefore, I am the favorite to win the division, finally. But I'm a minus 285 favorite to beat Derek in Week 13. And he is plus 230. Andy still has the North wrapped up. Dustin is a minus 145 favorite. Jason is plus 115. You can check out the scenarios to see how each one of them can win the division. Mike Mostrom is a minus 500 favorite. In the West, Scott plus 400. Derek, that last pass interference call did you in. Even if you win out and everything else happens exactly like you need it to, you will not be winning the division based on tiebreakers. We'll skip over that. If you want to see the odds for finishing with the max points, first in the regular season, bye week, and all that, you can. Let's go to the playoff odds. Andy, Dustin, Jason, and Mike have all clinched a playoff berth. I don't know if that's mathematical for Mike, but just based on points, the probability that two people out of Scott, whoever loses between Derek and I and Doug, catching him both in the standings and the points is not even calculatable right now. Non-existent. So those four are all but locked in. Scott has an 87.5% chance of making the playoffs. I have a 72.5% chance of making the playoffs. Derek L has a 27.5% chance of making the playoffs. And now that I'm looking at this, I don't know if I have any probability of getting a wild card. I do not. Interesting. I'll have to look into that. There may be another video being posted here in a little bit. And then the championship odds. Andy plus 240. Mike Mostrom plus 270. Jason plus 525. Dustin plus 625. Scott plus 725. Myself plus 875. Derek L plus 4,000. And Doug plus 8,500. So Doug's not completely out of the running yet. Quickly, wanted to keep you up to speed on a few of the miscellaneous stuff that I've been keeping track of. Mostrom has clinched a better record than Samuels still, so he'll end up with Mike Samuels' draft pick there. The way that it shakes out right now, based on my last two matchups, the guys that I'm playing are a lot worse than the guys that Doug has to play. I've already got the tiebreaker over Doug, even though that we have the same record, because it'll come down to points. Unless he, obliterates me the next couple weeks. I've got a 92.5% chance of finishing with a better seed than Doug. So that trade of draft picks should work out in my favor. And Scott has really solidified his position in the playoffs. So the probability that he misses the playoffs but still finishes with the best record, that's still possible, but I have that at 3.5% possibility right now. If you haven't already done so, check out the scenarios. You can check out my spreadsheet. I will post it. I don't think I ever posted it last week. Let me know if you have any questions on any of that stuff. And then finally, if there's amendments that are being posted to the board, vote on them. I put up a poll about, holdouts, whether you are for them, against them, or I even offered you don't know if you're for or against, or if you just don't care whatsoever. I even put an option on there that you don't care. And still, I think only 6 of the 12 members of the league have answered that. I know that only 9 of the 12 members of the league voted on the amendment proposal that Mike put up about dropped guys being able to be signed to long-term free agent contracts. And I understand that it's already been approved because we had more than a majority. But when you guys signed up for this league, you all promised to be active participants. I know that a few of you do not qualify as active participants, and whether it's because you're out of the league this year because of your record or whatever, that doesn't mean that you can just stop participating. You know who you are. I don't need to call anyone out specifically. So I will be back next week with the final power rankings of the year. Until then, have a great week. Peace.